When it comes to Drake and Dreamville, if you're ready to see how Lameo Lubbery, J Cole and his entourage have persisted in making Kendrick Lamar proud of his contributions to hip-hop during the feud, you'll notice how repulsive their opinions and remarks are becoming. Make sure to subscribe and give a like. Furthermore, J Cole's right-hand man recently came out and supported Drake by saying some extremely odd things that no other respectable non-Karen rapper would ever consider. And as a result, things are simply becoming out of control. In actuality, Dreamville is currently compensating a man for utilizing the genre in which they work and only texting Millie Bobby Brown with his writing abilities rather than songs. We will require it today, so be sure to leave that like. Since Kendrick Lamar has elevated lyricism to new heights in the most genuine manner we have ever witnessed, despite the paperwork and horrible cop-out moments where Drake is now suing hip-hop and the genre's entire future, we are witnessing this right now. However, despite all, Dreamville still cannot back Kendrick. They continue to act as though Drake is the greatest rapper of all time. There is no other way for me to put it. This is just plain strange because, as we now know, even after all of the drama, J. Cole's apology, and his subsequent attempt to mediate the conflict between Drake and Kendrick, he was actually actively supporting Drake more than Kendrick ever was. Cole and his team's current situation and the truth of everything are simply so different from where they ought to have been all along. And we are witnessing that in a rap business where people are fixated on applauding mid and sending papers over rack inflicts tea, regardless of what these individuals do. Nowadays, the landscape of a rap game is extremely complex since one side is attempting to improve things while the other is making them worse. Apart from Jay's activities, which I will simply state are distinct because JIT has shown support for Kendrick Lamar and stated that he wants to collaborate with him, Dreamville is actually promoting all of the mid and litigation antics and nothing that is advocating for hip-hop. Furthermore, based only on their beliefs, JID does not appear to be connected to the other mainstream Dreamville musicians or the general public. The reason for this is because Dreamville's own Robin A. and J. Cole's right-hand man are essentially showing up out of the blue to protect a pathetic old Karen Lubbery. When you listen to what this guy has to say, you can see how confused rappers are about their own lives and the actual space they operate in, as well how genuinely broken Drake has left hip-hop. Let's get right to the point. Everything started when a video of Ebro looping around while yelling at Drake went viral. And in this context, Ebro has stated that Drake does not embody hip-hop culture, attitudes, or anything like that. Bas unexpectedly commented on the article, saying, "In my opinion, Ebro, Drake is one of the most inclusive artists our culture has produced, if not the most so. Brought innumerable rappers to prominence. Since the struggle, dancehall performers, Afrobeat artists, R&B artists, reggaeton artists, and older artists have continued to perform. Toronto is an hour's flight from New York City if it's the Canadian thing." I would contend that their ethnic composition and culture are more like those of New York City than those of almost any American city. In terms of culture, New York City, Toronto, and London are the trio. It's not his pen, surely. He is possibly a generation's best writer. What is it, then? For a variety of reasons, everyone has been going crazy ever since Bas made these remarks. However, the underlying message of all of this is that Bas is actually pretending that Drake is one of the finest and most genuine rappers of all time, or that he is Jay-Z, Eminem, Andre 3000, or someone else entirely. And the truth is that these feelings are now defending Dreamville as a whole and J. Cole because, once more, Bas is too close to Cole to oppose him or say anything that would even cast doubt on him. All things considered, this puts us in a similar position to J. Khalil released Porn Antonio, which begs the question, what do these people even stand for in hip-hop? And regardless of their level of musical achievement, do they share our taste in music, and are they thinking about the same things that have transpired in our culture over the past few decades? Let's just take a closer look at Bas's assertion that Drake is among the most inclusive musicians in the entire culture. He continues by saying that this is because he has adopted a variety of names with characteristics from many genres. Let's pause for a moment and consider this from a perspective other than the OVO narratives. And once more, this explains why "You Not Like Us" is the greatest song of all time. Whatever you want to say about it, it completely exposed the grift that Drake has been getting away with for more than 10 years at this moment. Because, in reality, regardless of the artists Drake has collaborated with, from Migos to Central C, you can try to argue that Drake put them on and did these incredible things for their careers. However, with this, Drake lost all originality early in his career and turned into a chameleon who adopted different styles based on the prevailing trends. I'm going to reveal the courtside Karen of rap, so the OBOs witnessing this should not become enraged and simply follow me. Once more, Drake attempts to portray himself as a superhero who is dressing up as other musicians and performing incredible feats. This is how the grift operates, and this is what they want you to think. Because, in reality, Drake never achieves the sort of success he came very close to without utilizing the innumerable musicians he has collaborated with over the years and placing his name next to tracks they were already creating, after which he just added a Drake feature. And for that reason, Bas's reasoning is completely incorrect. And until you possess the subtlety to understand what he is saying in real life and once more comprehend the context of Drake's relationship and cooperation, you will never be able to appreciate how, with almost every collaboration that Drake has ever had done for his entire career, he just copies and pastes what the artist is doing and runs with it. And that's all it has ever been. And I am tired of people, especially somebody like Bas, acting like this is not the case. Because really, even if we want to look at the specific statement of putting people on, Drake only ever works with artists who are getting hot and who are about to become stars. And with this, well, again, when you understand the grift, Drake just jumps from wave to wave, whether it was with Wizkid all the way to Ye. And by doing this, and not scouting actual talent to actually work with and help uplift their actual careers like Kendrick did with GNX, because again all those rappers were genuinely talented but smaller names who now with somebody like AZ Chike, for example, would never have the motion without the feature that Kendrick gave him. Well, once again, when you actually see what putting on an artist really is, and then you see Drake using upcoming rappers who are about to make it big anyway to try and give him an interesting song or two. Well, really, when you break this down and also see how all of the rappers that Drake has helped break out for about the past decade at this point, they've really just been mediocre and lazy at best. Well, really, when you just see the pool of mediocre talent that he created, you see why hip-hop became the atrocity that it did by the end of his time at the center of it. And now with this whole thing, while Bosna is also trying to say that Canada is like New York City in terms of their rap scenes and all that, well, listen, I'm not going to get too mad at this because this is not the 2000s. We don't have J Nas or 50 or any of those greats running things. But still, even with the state of New York hip-hop, which is at an all-time low in this era compared to how great it used to be, I mean, if this were true, why aren't there Canadian rappers like Joey? But really? Beyond this comment, this weird love for Lubery only gets stranger when Bas says, and I have to quote this one because I can't even say this almost, he's arguably the greatest writer of a generation. So, what is it? And now with these specific words, this is the comment that has made everybody just lose it on Bas and Drake as a whole and not hold back anything anymore, because with what we have just heard Bas say, listen, I don't care how this comes off. You should lose your rap card for this, because this is straight up disrespectful to everybody, including your guy J Cole, who is actually a writer, and at that a very good one if I say so myself. Because seriously, to say that the guy who only ever uses his pen to write messages to Millie Bobby Brown is a better writer than everyone from this era. Well, this is why the Drake chapter in hip-hop needed to end and be closed forever, and why Kendrick needed to do what he did. Because seriously, and I do think that Bas and Cole are good examples of this, really just because of how passive and complacent they have become with the status quo at the time. Well, really, and you just see it here. They are applauding Drake for whatever mid he has put out and for whatever massive team was behind all of the records that we saw, and rewarded it over and over again like he is Jay, Eminem, Nas, 50 Cent, Andre 3000, or even MJ and Prince, or whatever other legend you want to put in that type of level. And really, when we get to this, I just don't even understand how as a rapper you can take a guy who has used ghostwriters on so much of his material, and really the more stuff that gets exposed from the OVOL factory, the more we find out about How much material that he really has tried to take credit for while just doing none of the work, whether it was with actually writing or performing the track without a reference. Really, overall. When you see this, it just makes you question why Bas would even start saying this and defending Drake the way we have all seen. And now as Bas is super close with Cole and his brother has already been on live in this entire chapter saying nasty things about Kendrick Lamar. I really do think that as pro-Drake as all of these statements are, they are also just as anti-Kendrick. And it is showing that aside from Jit, who again has said that he wants to collab with Kendrick and has showed some support for him where he can here and there, Dreamville just does not like Kendrick. And at the same time, they really miss where rap was at when Drake and Cole were on their little parade together just celebrating the most mid and awful era really in hip-hop for a time because 2023 really was that bad. And now seriously, as we are at a point where we are seeing a professional MC from what was seen in terms of the labels, the silver medalists of lyrical rap call Drake the best writer of a generation. This is just the pinnacle of what I have been trying to say and what I mean when I tell you that the Drake era has ruined so much. And even while Kendrick Lamar is in the lead, there is so much work that needs to be done because there have been irreversible effects on hip-hop. And really, we are just seeing it right now with how normalized it is to just applaud and defend a rapper who uses ghostwriters like this and try to put them in the same category as Kendrick Cole, Joey, Earl Vince, Freddie Gibbs, Tyler the Creator, and so many other amazing lyricists and songwriters. And when you just see the hard work that some of these rappers put into their music, you will clearly see that calling Drake the greatest writer just disrespects every artist who has come out right now and also before him ever. Because the guy write a minor amount of the time. But unless it's paperwork whining about not like us, the structure of his songs and the bars have gotten to a point where even with all of the help, they are still so bad and unoriginal that they are not even worth listening to. And this is why. In this era where we are in, nothing Drake has done has stuck aside from Nokia, which was stolen by a smaller artist who made the entire song without Drake's voice about 6 months before it dropped. And overall, with us just being in this reality and this being where we are all at, where despite hip-hop winning this much, you still have people in as high of places as Dreamville saying Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick and Cole. I mean, while this did make me ask, what happened to the game I love is we all see that this is a bad take and we all agree. Well, again, as we are now pushing back on ghostwriting and clown antics and just this culture in rap that has rewarded mid. Which got us to the problem and got us to the point where Kendrick just had to diss the genre really to save its future. I guess something decent in hip-hop is happening after all. And so now, with all of this said, let me know. What do you think about these ridiculous comments that Bas made about Drake? And what do you think about the takes themselves? Where do you think Drake holds up against writers? And where do you think he ranks compared to Kendrick and Cole? If you really want to ask that and just want to have a good laugh in the comments. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all this. Now, if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And how if you want to see how right before this,